You've built a dirt house before. Yeah, you, specifically. I know what you did. But don't worry, because today I'm going to be removing this entire savanna biome for similar purposes. See, we are here in my Create world, and last time we made this factory area. Well, if you aren't a member, you remember a different, much less finished factory, but that is besides the point. Long story short, after the initial 100 days, I spent another like 75 making it less terrible. However, going forward, all of the farms need to look good. But you may be asking, Lucy, what does that have to do with you calling out the dirt house thing? Well, simple. Item farms that you are used to, like iron or gold or some other valuable item, but I want to start with something basic. Not basic as in to make, basic as in item, and of course the most basic item in Minecraft has got to be dirt. So of course I am making a dirt farm, which is fortunately substantially less terrible in Create, and I can start collecting the materials for a dirt farm here in the factory. While I do that, however, I was thinking, that biome I plan on making the dirt farm decoration on top of isn't like massive, but it isn't small either, and it would be nice to get some help with that. Now, a normal person considering that would probably like, ask their friends, and a normal content-making person would probably like, ask the other content-making people they're vaguely familiar with. I, however, am a deranged person, and cannot be buying a server that can run Create. That would probably cost at least $2, and I cannot be affording stuff like that. So, why am I even talking about help? Well, simple. If I can't get help from other people, I'll just help myself. Sounds stupid, I know, but on our starting day of 175, while I am collecting materials in the factory so I can make the little dirt farm, the other Lucys are getting started. No, I am not joking, there are 4 of me on world. A truly apocalyptic threat. Specifically, I have DW, or Dawnwalker from the Firefall days, I have TS, or the Summoner, from the video with a chapter dedicated to gender envy, and TW is busy killing gods or something, so I guess we're just grabbing an OTU unit. I can just put that one in the wood chipper when we're done. Huh? On day 1, they all do the normal. Punch bushes, punch trees, OTU follows the summoner like she's lost for a bit before moving off to make a little starter hut, the summoner gets mauled to death by skeletons, and Dawnwalker makes a little dirt pyramid shrine to the cornflower. So you know, the normal day 1 stuff. Can't believe TS couldn't even survive 1 day though. Kinda lame. Hey, it's not my fault this world does not permit me to bring my sparkly murder dragon with me. Yeah, whatever you say, still kinda pathetic. Anyway, after day 1 and some basic material gathering for them, and me collecting all the items I should need for the dirt farm, all 4 of us head over to the Savannah where we can start doing this project. Now, this is normally the part where I could say something like, now we can break this project into X steps, or some other bad attempt at sensible direction, but there are 4 of us, so some of those are gonna overlap. For example, what would be step 1, I am making this big hole in the floor and going down there to put the dirt farm down there, as the dirt farm can get kinda loud, and I don't want to hear it up here in the project. Meanwhile, the other 3 are starting on what would be step 2, making the whole biome flat. Or at least to the best of their ability. I did leave them some iron to make some basic tools, but I also end up having OTU run back to the factory to grab me some more gunpowder, since I totally forgot to grab literally any of that while I was there, and I kinda need it. While she does that, DW chops down all the trees in the biome, and TS starts making a decent-sized wheat farm to feed us for the time being. Small issue though, Spawn decided to remind these 2 that the local difficulty is higher than day 2, and so both TS and DW get absolutely swarmed by zombies throughout the night. As amusing as that is to watch, for now, and with the OTU having delivered way more gunpowder than necessary, let's come down the big hole in the floor so I can, to the best of my ability, show you this dirt farm. I designed this on a creative world, and I'm using a schematic cannon to bring it into this one, but I can still give you the basics on how it works as I make sure this thing works and set up its 2 steam engines. First, of course, the schematic cannon does most of the work, clearing out the area and putting down most of the hardware, and of course this does not work at all how a vanilla dirt farm does. Vanilla dirt farms generally work via moss farms, turning the moss into podzol via big spruce trees, or I think I've also seen 1 or 2 making rooted dirt via the azalea trees, but anyway, then they break the dirt somehow and boom. Dirt. These are very cool and very neat, however, they require player intervention and are also made of a frightening amount of redstone stuff. So I'm just gonna use the create mod as this is my create world. Step 1 of the dirt farm is actually a gravel farm, which if you saw the last episode, you know that is simple. Just a cobble gen over some crushing wheels to turn the cobble into gravel, porting the items via chutes in and out of vaults. I need that gravel to make coarse dirt, as if you add 2 gravel to 2 dirt, you get 4 coarse dirt. But coarse dirt, as neat as it is also, is not dirt. So we send that back up here to these depots where the coarse dirt is smashed into path blocks. The path blocks can then be moved to these deployers to place the path blocks under a block to make it into normal dirt, and that normal dirt is broken by drills and stored in a vault. That dirt can then be used to repeat the cycle, adding more gravel to make it coarse, pathing it, dirting it, and then looping that over and over, getting 4 dirt for every 2 put through, making in effect infinite dirt. However, this farm does a little more than just making normal old dirt. For starters, it saves some of that coarse dirt it makes, as I like that block too, but I also like mud, packed mud, and mud bricks, and since those are pretty much just advanced dirt, it makes those too. Making the dirt into mud is super easy. Just add some excess dirt into basins with some water and mix that into mud. Packed mud is a little more obnoxious though, as it requires wheat, which means I need to set up a little wheat farm as well. But before we get there, I will note that the schematic cannon, while convenient, does not place fluids, so I had to do all that by hand. And after that, I need to set up some power to actually run this farm on. Fortunately, that just means 2 level 9 steam engines, which I brought all the materials for. Fluid tanks over blaze burners, and then the engines themselves hanging off of those. Then, I just need the fluids for it. Water is easy, just make an infinite water source, and suck some of that through the pipes into tanks. However, the lava needed to feed the blaze burners is a little more obnoxious. I get this the same way I am back at the factory though, just digging a big hole in the ground with the same drills I used to get down here in the first place, and then filling that with flowing lava by pouring it all over a small plate, and then digging that plate away. I cover that up to prevent incidents, and then I can use pumps and a hose pulley to pull what the game considers infinite lava to feed my blaze boys. Very helpful. The only other thing I'd like to mention about these is I do have an upgrade to my steam engines as opposed to the ones back at the factory. I have all the pumps running on an isolated stress system, which itself functions off of a bunch of water wheels. This stops the system from spontaneously turning itself off, which is certainly not getting annoying at the main factory. Nope, not even a little. But with that and some seed dirt to feed in, we are now making infinite dirt. Classy, I know. But I am missing some stuff I need for the wheat farm, which is why as we take a peek at what the other 3 are getting up to, OTU pretty much instantly ran back to the factory after we cut away from them, as I sent them to get more stuff I forgot. Meanwhile, Dawnwalker and the Summoner are just starting to level out the biome lane by lane, and as OTU gets back, she also helps digging out the biome. Do you need me to dig out the stone? TS is having me do that too. Nah, I got it. Thanks. OTU, drops into the hole on day 157 and comes down to deliver some materials I need for the wheat farm and just generally get stuff finished up. Other than that though, the 3 just keep digging while I start to get that wheat farm set up. As I check on the OTU delivery, this is hopefully everything I need for the wheat farm. I need this wheat farm of course, cause as I mentioned before, I need packed mud, which is made by mixing the mud I am making with the wheat in a basin. Then on top of that, we are also taking some of that packed mud into another set of basins to be compressed into mud bricks, which is the last thing we're making here. It isn't the biggest or most beautiful farm of all time, but it works. And so on day 189, I am done with the farm. For sure and totally. And with that, I can now also come up to help leveling out the biome. So, for the next 2 hours and 20 minutes, all 4 of us just dig out the high zones, fill in the low zones, over, and over, and over again. Which was not the end of it. That was just a long single sitting for us, apparently. The next few days are the same, only other thing of note being OTU making an iron drop for both TS and DW, as they were running pretty low on iron and used stone tools for a bit, which is slow and miserable. And if you're wondering where OTU got all that iron, well, She's been stealing a couple stacks of iron blocks from the factory each time she went over there, so she's kinda stacked with the stuff right now. I also think OTU is favoring DW, but not sure why. She filled my barrel with a bunch of unnecessary stuff. I don't mind though. DW uses some of the iron from OTU's drop to upgrade her backpacks, which, for the record, pretty much all of the backpacks that the different Lucies have were collected from fighting the backpack-having creatures of the night, which is convenient despite how mean they can be. By day 203, we are still just digging dirt and stone, and filling in the floor with dirt and stone, which is starting to get a bit repetitive, so TS and DW left for a moment to do some, recreational activities, I guess. I decide to take this opportunity to try and dig out the area with drills, and over the next 3 days, I do actually manage to dig out a pretty substantial amount of area. Which is making me realize I probably should have just done this from the start, but I didn't. Well, I then just have OTU come clean up the stone floor that was left behind while I plot out the next move, which, for the record, it took her a whole day longer just to handle the stone floor of the area than it took for me to drill the whole thing out. Well, I did also have to deal with those chests you left behind. Huh? Yeah, you're slow. Moving on. Okay. Anyway, with the other two back again, we start digging by hand again. You may be asking, Lucy, why are you digging by hand if you literally just called it slow? Well, simple. I'm not just having them dig at random this time, and this time we're digging out mostly the strange edges of the biome and squaring them off around the back, or just splitting it off into smaller chunks. This takes from day 210 to day 216, so 2 hours of work each before the land is all split up like this. With it like this, I can then, over the course of the next 7 days, day 216 to day 223, drill out all that excess land, and of course then call OTU to fix the stone floor while the other two are, back to recreational activities. And with OTU done after 6 days of... I didn't say anything. Yeah, you're slow. Moving on. Good. Anyway, here it is, the former savanna biome turned dirt plain. But there is still a couple days left before TS and DW get back from recreation time, so me and OTU have some extra work to do real fast. I spend these 3 days by first aligning our schematic, because yes, I am a YouTuber who overcommitted to a really big project. I am using Lightmatica. But then I also set up the output for the dirt farm. See, we shouldn't have to climb all the way down into this hole to grab dirt, so it is time to set up some chain conveyors to bring the dirt up to the surface. I thought of a couple ideas on how I was going to do this, at first thinking I was just going to use a factory gauge and have the items fill up a pair of double chests or something, but I decided that wasn't cinematic enough for my dirt. I still have chain conveyors bringing dirt to the surface, but otherwise not at all the same. I lure a sheep, who I will be referring to from here on out as the Shrine Maiden, down into this little area to sit next to the stock ticker, allowing us to request dirt up to this vault with the funnels on top of it. These funnels shoot the packages out, but not just in the air, of course. See, during the last couple episodes, I became familiar with the fact that packages break when entering water, and spew all their contents out into it. This is actually ideal for what I want this system to do. The funnels spit the packages out into this water pool, which, if the Shrine Maiden didn't make it clear, will be the bottom of a little shrine within Dirt Town. So, with this all set up, when you need dirt, you come down this ladder under the stairs, speak with the Shrine Maiden to ask for dirt, and then it comes up in a package, or packages for larger orders, and then those are spit out into the shrine pool for you to collect the items from. Meanwhile, while I'm doing that, OTU heads back to the factory again. This time there specifically to pick up more iron blocks for the group, as well as grabbing torches before coming back to the build site. At the build site, she spent some time by placing torches and filling in some missing dirt, but as of the morning of day 232, we're back to a group of 4. Don't worry, I'm already regretting coming back. What? Why? Am I getting something for being made to roll around in the mud for hours of my life? Well, I hadn't thought of anything for payment. Alright, I'm expecting a cubic meter of gold for each minute I had to waste on your dirt fixation. What? But we're making a cool dirt city. Uh-huh. Okay, just keep helping, I suppose. I'll figure it out. I do suppose that is acceptable. And so, with OTU's Gifts of Iron, we begin refining the platform shape a bit so it's actually the right shape. And also, I mean, we have a bunch of the dirt and mud stockpiled, and so we might as well grab a big chunk of that stuff and start placing out the walls and floor for a little bit. However, of course, that can't last. Mostly because as we build up, we are reminded of all of the different things we need to actually build the rest of this place. So, we should probably start collecting the other materials. Other materials? I thought this place was just made out of dirt. I mean, mostly, but there are a few other things to make it a little less monotone. How much more do we need to do then before we actually get started? Oh, well, it isn't that much, just a few thousand blocks more. That doesn't sound like not much. Well, I mean, most of that is just the 18,308 birch leaves. Yeah, I'm not getting those. Just split the list into quarters and we'll each get our share. That way we can be done in a reasonable time frame. That seems the most reasonable to me as well. Alright, I'll just put everything on a wheel and we'll spin for it. Keep it all fair. And this extra... we'll just give it to OTU. Seems about right. Well, with our lists, let's just get all our stuff done and meet back up here when we're done, so we can get all this done and sorted. Why do I have to gather 9,000 moss blocks? I'm giving you a gold block per minute. You'll manage. Wait, she's getting paid? And so, the four of us move off to collect our respective material lists. Fortunately, most of the materials aren't too bad. Starting with the summoner though, she does first work on some of the more notable materials. First, she makes a bone meal farm. And not a moss farm, before quickly fixing her mistake and making an actual moss farm. Though the bone meal farm is at least nice to get it kick-started. She finishes the bone meal farm early on day 241 and the moss farm on day 243. So overall, not that big a time loss or something. The most notable thing about the latter farm's construction is just her having to go to the nether to collect a blaze rod for the copper bulbs it requires. This will get her both the 9,097 moss blocks she needs as well as the 10 moss carpets. Over the next 2 days, she grabs all the other materials on her list, including 3 lava buckets, 2 chests, 95 chains, 2 lecterns, 265 flower pots. Yeah, good thing I was storing all that clay, it turns out. She also gets 2 sugarcane, an anvil, 3 cooking pots, 2 oak hanging signs, 32 oak planks, and then she picks up half of the 9,097 moss blocks as her moss farm hasn't quite made enough yet, apparently. So, while waiting for that, she also takes time to grab the 194 flowering azalea leaves by bone mealing and shearing some bushes, and then collecting the rest of the moss blocks and the 10 moss carpets as well. After that is the poppies, which are more or less easy given the bone meal farm she had made, so she can just bone meal the grass and break everything that grows until she has all 100. Overall, she finishes on day 245. Next is me, the mechanics list of items. First, I grab my 6 magma blocks because why not, that's easy. Then, the most annoying thing on my list by far, the 166 bookshelves, which fortunately I at least don't need leather for the books as I can just use cardboard I am making in the factory for it instead. However, that still means I need 1,494 paper, which is, well, I'm not getting all that sugarcane by hand, so I spend a while making this auto sugarcane farm which will collect the sugarcane as I get the other stuff. It is just a gantry with some harvesters that moves back and forth, so nothing too complicated. So back to the semi-easy stuff. I grab a millstone first, and then I get to deal with the slightly annoying 3,297 lanterns. But that mostly just took time, as the charcoal and sticks for torches is easy with the super smelter and wood farm, and I have an iron farm built into the factory as well. 2, technically, so that isn't that bad either. So it's mostly just an issue of inventory management. I'm pretty sure it's around this time that I also decide I don't really want to deal with the 96 hay bales or the 57 orange daisies. So I'm just gonna have OTU handle those for me. So instead, I work on getting the 12 beetroot seeds I need, which, not too hard, just had to plant beetroot. Other items on my list include 4 ladders, the 1 cake, 15 smokers, 76 oak wood, 93 oak doors, 168 glass, 162 flowering azaleas, which I got from TS's moss farm, and then finally I can get the stuff together to make those 166 bookshelves, making me now also done with my totally fair and even quarter of the tasks on day 246. After my own wonderful collection, we can look at Dawnwalkers. Dawnwalker starts by farming her 103 carrots and also carrots for her 14 carrot crates. Then bone mealing to get 149 rose bushes, 132 oak fences, 92 oak logs, 191 wheat seeds, and then handcrafting the majority of the 1,258 barrels. Then she had to boat around to find some potatoes so she can farm those too, as she needs 7 potato crates and 69 potatoes. After that though, 2 of the things she needs require a pretty substantial amount of wool, both the 83 gray wool and the 167 white beds, so she sets up a wool farm, which is actually pretty good. Just a long pen with 1 block of inside space, and then a ton of deployers fed with shears by chutes and vaults. The deployers shear the sheep in the pen, and the brass funnels on the back of the deployer send the wool down this belt and into the storage area. And of course, she set it up so the threshold switch will turn off the deployers when the wool starts filling up. She also got to set up a crafter setup for shears, but she did that fine, so no need to panic. While tending to the sheep, she multitasks with farming a ton of oak wood, as she also needs to make a cool 3,970 oak trapdoors. Then we have a little loss of time due to paused OBS, but during that, here's the flower farm DW made, which is here just to get the 116 dandelions more easily. Then she can make the gray wool and the white bed since the wool farm has gotten a lot of wool already, so that's good. Lastly, Dawnwalker just has to shear up the cool, calm, and reasonable 18,308 birch leaves, which she starts setting up for on day 248 and finishes up on day 255. Kinda slow, but alright. Kinda slow is strange coming from the person who didn't even get her whole list. It was like 2 items, whatever. 2 items shunted off onto OTU, who still finished before you. Wait, what? Here, let me show you. As you can see, as with the rest of us, OTU comes out to the factory to collect her material list. As with most of us, she then has to instantly fix the engineer's factory because the steam engines are complete garbage. That was kind of a mean way to put, but after fixing that, she can make her nice backpack like the rest of us did and start gathering materials. Starting with 133 torches, 7 cutting boards, 5 fletching tables, 80 crafting tables, 131 furnaces, 192 decorated pots, an oak fence gate, a cauldron, 36 campfires, 155 azalea leaves, which, in fairness, TS got. So she got help! She did 5 more items than you, and TS also got you the azaleas, so shut up. But I was just on another note, OTU is also the only one of us who had to do a substantial amount of her material gathering off-island. And the first item she went off to go get is some of the tall alliums over on this island, and also ended up wasting a substantial amount of time looking for orange daisies, which we all agreed we would swap for alliums for ease since none of us could figure out where the orange daisies come from. She also had to grab some pumpkins for a little pumpkin farm as she needed to get 49 carved pumpkins as well, and after making the wheat farm better, she pretty easily got the 98 hay bales the mechanics shunted off onto her, while also learning soon after that the tall alliums do not work how other tall flowers do, meaning she's gonna have to gather all of those by hand. She, in the meantime, tended to her pumpkin patch and got the 6 beetroot crates she needed. Then she mostly relaxed to harvest pumpkins, as I told her she might as well take some small breaks when they present themselves. With her pumpkins, she then carved and collected them all before going and hand collecting the 57 alliums she needed, which is the other thing you shunted off onto her, I will remind you, Miss Engineer. And then she also boated off across the ocean again to hand gather all the tall allium flowers she needed, getting 19 of the normal tall alliums and 127 of the tall white alliums. And she finished all of that on day 245, a whole day before the engineer finished her so-called quarter of the work, having collected 5 more items and taking a little break with her pumpkins for a while. So, she probably could have finished even faster if I hadn't given her break time. Okay, but like, have you considered that you finished 10 days after that, and therefore you are truly the slow one? I hand-gathered 18,000 leaves, while your worst item to collect was bookshelves, which was a 90% automated task. And you didn't finish your part of the work. And you made somebody else do your job for you. And we had to fix your factory to do our jobs. And, well, anyway, let's get back to the point. With all our materials collected, we can start on the Dirt City for real this time. The first few days were spent finishing up the retaining walls and foundations. This city is layered, with each of the 5 layers having a different sort of function, I suppose. Layer 1 is mostly the entrance, Layer 2 is for the shrine and the hedge garden, Layer 3 is for the main town, Layer 4 is for the guards in training, and the top layer is for the Dirt University. However, there isn't a ton to yap about for this starting part, as it's just making walls and floors. So I'll just let you watch this little cinematic shot of us getting this all set up. But with the construction of the foundation in, now I can start actually talking about the real builds. We're starting on the lowest floor and we'll move up as we finish each layer's decorations. On the first day of construction, the other 3 work on making the big entryway arch tunnel thing. Meanwhile, I get to work on the little garden area, as well as some of the light-emitting planter boxes around this area. As with all of my builds, I did my best to make sure there will be no spawnable space within the city, as it needs to stay safe after all. Day 2, they finish the arch structure and we start building the first houses. While the main city and living area is on floor 3, this floor also has some housing, and as I finish those houses moving into day 3, the other 3 move up to floor 2 to start working on the shrine and the hedge maze. As I finish the last house of floor 1, I also come up to help on the hedge maze. The vast majority of floor 2 is the hedge maze, which serves a different purpose than you might expect. See, it isn't hard to get from the 2nd to the 3rd floor. There's a clear shot from the staircase to floor 2 and the stairs up to floor 3, so this isn't really a barrier of entry. Instead, the maze serves a sort of dual function, both a place for events and some training exercises to be held, but also a place to just come and chill out in, as each dead end in the maze has these little seating areas, making it a pleasant and quiet place for people to just come and relax, or also a place for students from the university to come and study in. We finished the floor over the course of 2 days, as it isn't too hard to build given most of the blocks other than the shrine are just birch leaves. OTU even has time to move up to layer 3 to start building the first house of the floor. Layer 3 is the main town, and by extension also contains most of the shops. That said, pretty much all the shops in this city double as homes for those who run them, such as this florist shop, where if you come up the side stairs you can come up to the florist's house. As the rest of us move up to floor 3, I won't be bringing up every building as there are a lot of them, but I will mention some of the important ones. The summoner instantly gets to work on this large structure, which the underside of acts as a large meeting area, and extends out to all of the tables and chairs OTU set up the day before. Dawnwalker starts on the bakery, which along with the florist shop may or may not be named after the username of my first member, so you know. Cool stuff. And meanwhile, I'm working on this large building, which is actually just a house for a very large and rich family that lives here in the Dirt City of Mulda. And out back you can see the little stand they're letting the potter have behind their house, where he can sell his pots which, as you can see, are used quite frequently around town. Right next to the Gathering House building, OTU also sets up this smaller building, which is a little kitchen that caters food to those in and around the meeting area, making the 2 buildings together act as a sort of local restaurant. Out behind the rich people's house, there's the more local town area, where this center street has multiple small stalls set up, where the people of the town sell and trade their produce they grow, as most of the houses in the city of Mulda have some sort of attached farm space. While we make that area, Dawnwalker is over on the other end of town setting up the Potter's house. The Potter of Mulda is actually pretty well off, as their pots are used in much of the local area, both for the city's main infrastructure, as well as within the homes of Mulda, as there probably isn't a house within Mulda where you can't find at least one of their pots. As this day of work wraps up, some of us even have some time to start working on Layer 4, the military or guard district. The summoner makes it up there first, making one of the sparring rings as well as some of the training dummies, with Dawnwalker coming up to work on some of the nearby seating, and I work on some of the resource piles around one of the buildings that will be built up here, as the summoner also sets up the forge. The next day, OTU makes the blacksmith house, which is of course the building with the forge behind it. At the same time, the summoner begins work on the Fletcher's house. Between the two, the blacksmith making the metal armors and weapons, and the Fletcher making the bows, arrows, and perhaps dabbling in leather armors, these two buildings supply most of the arms for the guards of Mulda. Speaking of the guards, of course, me and Dawnwalker get right to work building up the main keep for the guards of Mulda. The bottom floor contains 2 large barracks rooms for the guards to sleep in, a large stockpile room for different supplies to be stashed, and a library, which is where the mage's captain works out of. While we work on that, OTU and TS finish both the blacksmith and the Fletcher's house and continue making the rest of the area, including the meeting tables on the Fletcher's half of the layer, and the other sparring ring as well as the archery ranges on the blacksmith's half. There are also these large crates out here, again for more stockpiled supplies for the town. We only barely get the first floor finished, with TS actually coming in to make the library area near the end of the day. So, the day after, all 4 of us worked on the keep, each taking a quarter and working our way up. The second floor has a large balcony area for local watch, as well as some desks for any needed paperwork or crafts that need to be done in quarters, as well as the desk where the night captain does their meetings and more mundane tasks. The floor up from that is also mostly desk space, but also has some more large circular windows to look out from. Above that is another mostly balcony floor, and the rest of the way up is the main spire, with the little extra stockpile space crammed in there. But otherwise, the rest of the building is mostly just intended to act as a high-up place to be able to get a good view of the land. And of course, the engineer is the only one of us 4 who didn't finish her quarter by the end of the day. Kinda slow, don't you think? Yeah, I get the point. But I finished my quarter early the next day, and then we can all move up to the final floor and begin work on the university. OTU actually set up a few tables up here yesterday, but today we get started with a structure that probably seems a little familiar, as the main entry hall is more or less the same as the main entry archway to the city itself, though of course it is not a standalone structure in this case. If you turn to the left on entry, you can see OTU setting up the start of the cafeteria and kitchen, while on the other side, me, TS, and DW each work on one of the 3 classrooms, though none of those structures are finished on day 1, of course. And for some reason, the next day's replay is a little messed up. As you can see, OTU working on the classes, good. TS working to finish up the main archway, also good, and you can even see DW starting on the dorm building. However, for some reason, me, the mechanic, am not there, and my work on the cafeteria that I did for these 2 days is just already there. So, normal stuff, I suppose. But finally, on our last day, we finish the roof on the cafeteria and kitchen building and fill in some more stuff. And then I have OTU add all the stuff we missed, which takes her like 4 days. Wait. That's why we were on break but not leaving yet? Yeah, I wanted to play some Magic and didn't have any better excuse. Sometimes I want to kill you, engineer. But anyway, right before we get to the final cinematic of Mulda, you may be thinking, hey engineer, how did that baby little dirt farm actually manage to make this much dirt so fast? It didn't seem like it was that good. Well, for starters, rude. But also, yeah, you're absolutely right, it isn't. Hell, by the time we did that initial building part before breaking to do the material collection, we were actually already running out of coarse dirt. So, where did the dirt come from? Well, I've been lying, just a little bit. See, there haven't been 4 Lucys on this planet the whole time, there's actually been 5. But A, it's another OTU unit, and talking about 2 Lucy OTUs at the same time seemed annoying. I mean, that would mean me having to use the full acronym, and saying Lucy OTU-TE-A once is annoying, let alone having to do it for the whole report while also referring to Lucy OTU-DW-A. But secondly, and fortunately for me, in a way I guess, almost all of this OTU's footage just completely broke. Other than a few shots of them getting started and gathering materials, some of the shots of the cannon working, and the scenes of them bug fixing the machine. That said, I suppose that does mean I haven't got to look at it, though I just told them to make mine bigger, and knowing OTU units, she probably just copy-pasted mine over, Huh? Oh, hello, Mrs. Mechanic. What am I looking at? Well, you told me to make your dirt farm more capable of dealing with the load required to build the city of Mulda. However, due to multiple design flaws in your original design, I decided to fully redesign it from the bottom up. This isn't even similar looking to mine. It's like more than thrice the size and like decorated. Oh, yes, I am quite fond of the decor. I tried to make it match up well with the city. As for the farm itself, though, it does work on the same operation, just scaled up a bit. Why do you talk like that? Whatever do you mean by that? Well, this is great. I'm never living this down. Oh, don't you worry, Miss Mechanic. It is based on the same concept as your design, so I'll give you half the credit. Where's, the wheat farm? Oh, yes, that is upstairs. There's an upstairs? Why, yes, of course. It's right this way. As you can see, the upper floor uses a trio of gantry systems, similar to that of the sugarcane farm you ended up making. Each of these rolls over the wheat fields and deposits its bounty over these portable storage interfaces. After that, the chutes bring it down here, voiding all the junk, seeds, and straw while letting all the wheat come down to this belt, where it is pulled into the basin, mixed with mud, and deposited out into these vaults. I figured having a large buffer space would be wise, so after coming to these small vaults, each of the resources are automatically taken down to these max-sized vaults, which are where you request the items from when you talk to the Shrine Maiden. How long did it take you to make this? Oh, truly not that long. You had me come start working on it on day 188 right after you finished your own. And this one was up and running at a nearly fully operational state by 231. So I actually finished around the same time you got the shrine's bottom in place. Though, of course, I still had you drawing from the dirt stockpile from your farm then, while mine got kickstarted. I see. Plus, if we're being specific, I did spend another day doing some minor bug fixing since the schematic cannon was a little temperamental and didn't do its job so well. And that time includes me making the new infinite lava source since yours was in a non-optimal position to keep the area aesthetic. See, I think. I got the idea, and I will be heading out now. You can stop talking and making this worse than it already is. Sounds like a plan. Good luck on your future endeavors. I suspect that me and DW shall be heading off soon, then. We'll, see, I suppose. Well, my dirt farm getting totally outclassed by an ostentatious OTU unit aside, let's, do our final cinematic of the city. I am gonna have to make up for that embarrassment next time. Well, now that we have all that finished up, you guys want to stick around for the next thing? Yeah, absolutely not. No, not even a little bit. I expect my gold as soon as you have it, and never make me do this again. My job is killing things, not dirt. It seems that she isn't a fan of this project. What a shame that is. Okay, and you specifically need to stop talking. I don't understand what the problem is, but I suppose if you insist, I will do as you ask. Anyway, what about you, Dawn Walker? I mean, this is sorta your usual, so will you stick around? I don't think so. I should be ready for when I'm needed. But you could just stay until you're needed elsewhere. I mean, World Machine can get you places pretty quick. I will pass. However, as payment, since you decided payment is a thing you're capable of, I have the perfect idea for you. I'm not sure how paying you is in my benefit, but fine, I guess. Fair is fair. Good. As payment, you are just going to have to keep Lucy OTU-TE-A around, not put her in the wood chipper, and she can help you with your projects. After all, she is a good helper and you seem to really need the help. You are giving the summoner thousands of gold blocks. You can manage this as a payment to me. I suppose so, if you insist. I do insist, especially since the engineer is not taking her back, so you will have to take care of her instead. Yeah, I get the point, I'll do it. Very well then, I will leave with my apprentice then, and you can manage here with Lucy OTU-TE-A. Does this mean I'm not getting put into the wood chipper? I suppose not, but I'm not calling you by that whole acronym, so we're gonna have to figure that out. Yeah.